Dentro da minha casa, quando eu tinha 13 anos, meu padrasto. Dormindo, ele veio acariciando meu corpo várias vezes. Daí, imediatamente, fui correr para minha mãe para poder contar, avisar alguém de maior idade. Fiquei com medo, por minha mãe me rejeitar. E aconteceu o que eu tinha temido. Ela me rejeitou por causa dele. Fui ser molestada, sem poder fazer nada. E, geralmente começa no seu lar. Muitas vezes não termina.
From my understanding about glass ceiling effect, it is, although you seem that your career is very smooth in the very beginning, but after a certain stage, you will see that there is something in front of you that you can never cross over it as a burden or hurdle in front of you as a woman.
Maybe the glass ceiling effect is present. I think it's evident in the statistics in Denmark when you see it. How many men are leaders and how many women are leaders. The majority is still men.
If a boy decides to do his master's degree abroad, live abroad, get married abroad, people will think he is more successful, and all other women, like mothers, will want their daughters to be married to such a guy. But if a girl, like me, who decides to do her master's degree abroad, the comments I got was, "You're a girl, and we are in Eastern society, and a girl should not travel alone. A girl should not live alone."
I was looking at this study that said that women in general are more educated than men. A lot more women graduate at university compared to men. The percentage is much higher, but despite this, after when it comes to be teaching at universities, mostly men have that kind of job.
Because many countries are promoting women in the workforce, it is giving women a springboard to make the most of their opportunities and to, rise above that. But at the same time, the fact that there is still such a strong predisposition for men to occupy leadership roles is still a frustrating factor for many women, and I would say myself included.
Что касается движения наверх, то тут происходит некоторая цепная реакция. Вот представьте себе, что уже есть некая сбитая команда мужчин, которые достаточно хорошо друг друга понимают. Им значительно проще договориться друг с другом. Появление женщины – это некоторый дополнительный раздражающий фактор. Да? И если есть возможность этого не делать, то очень часто этого не делают.
I have, when I was a bartender, they wouldn't let any of the females go higher than just a normal bartender. You couldn't be a manager. They said it was because it was like safety, security at night, which was bullshit. I think that it was more that they didn't want women to be in the higher up positions.
In China, we have a traditional saying, which is housewife and the social husband. That is, the man should take care of the social affairs of the family. Actually, getting married is a kind of social responsibility for women. It's not only an individual thing, it's a social thing, and it's also a family thing. Women above the age of 27 will be called leftover women. So actually, I'm one of them, so I can really feel the pressures on myself.
In Ethiopian society, for example, pretty much if a woman when a woman is in her late 20s or when she turns 30, it's a threat. It's like that's the time that she has to wake up, get a husband, and have children.
Yes. A woman who reaches her 30s and is not married yet is called, is basically called a maiden, referred to as a maiden. And there's always this perception that there must be something wrong with her. It's no matter how successful she is, no matter how much she grows emotionally, and no matter if she has all the degrees in the world, it's always that what's around her finger is always more important than what's inside her mind. And the first thing when you graduate you hear from older women is, when will you make us happy? Making them happy is me getting married.
And obviously, a married woman somehow is seen as a woman who has fulfilled many things and somehow respected by the society than a single woman.
I think people still definitely see queer couples as just like what happens in the bedroom, really. And that makes it really hard to get past.
It's frustrating to feel as if who I am isn't as valid and isn't as accepted and isn't as safe as other people.
I do feel that treatment to unmarried women tends to be quite traditionalist. It's a traditionalist in South Africa, so there's an automatic attitude of you're not doing something right if you're not married. The stereotypes relating to women of a certain age in a certain marital position, that's what needs to change.
I believe physical violence against women starts long before the actual physical part.
When you are guilt-tripped into things you do not want, when you are made to believe that you are wrong because you're different, when you are manipulated by your close ones to do things even though they care about you, even though they love you, you take this love as an excuse to do whatever they want. And it drags you downhill, and you feel like you cannot abandon them because they mean a lot to you. That's violent.
Being told that you're not useful at all, it hurts, I guess. It really does.
I have been physically harmed by people who are close to me several times. Violence against women is getting way, way worse in Egypt. According to very, very recent statistics in 2012, over 90% of women will admit to have been sexually harassed. I remember being blamed for being harassed in the street by a female. She said my jeans were so tight. She explained his behavior and blamed me for it. She said, if you don't want to get harassed, do not wear tight jeans.
You've got to go into the sort of sociological and psychological effects of why we have a 1 in 3 rape rate. We have a woman raped every 4 minutes in South Africa and a woman murdered every 2 minutes. South Africa has a reputation for being relatively dangerous for a woman. Walking home at night can be scary.
Actually, on the night that we met, that happened to us, we were just walking down the road and this whole mob of guys were like, yeah, and they kind of like swarmed Sarah and like, 5 guys were just like kind of hugging her in a way that you would not just do to a stranger on the street. And I'm pretty sure it's got to do with the fact that they saw us holding hands, they were drunk, and that for some reason that's a license for them to kind of I guess interrogate our relationship and our sexuality and our space.
Женщина, выходя замуж, берет на себя обязательство следить за семьей, содержать семью, заботиться о ней. И фактически этот контракт включает в себя сексуальное право мужчины на женщину. То есть штамп в паспорте, который я ставлю, де-факто позволяет моему мужу иметь права на мое тело, вне зависимости от того, в каких отношениях я с ним нахожусь. Когда я мысленно и материально готовилась к будущему разводу, тем не менее, каждую субботу или воскресенье я обязана была принимать его в своей спальне, вне зависимости от того, хотела я этого или нет. Фактически это физическое насилие, и оно является частью большинства отношений.
A form of physical violence in Egyptian streets is dressed up the way I am right now and walking into a subway, but fearing, like my hands just, I have to keep my balls, like my hands balls in a fist like that all the time, because I never know when someone might decide to touch me.
I had a friend who was taking public transportation in the city where I'm from, Milan, and she was just going by herself in the subway, and in the train was full of people, and she was stuck. Everybody was stuck, so you could barely breathe, and she happened to be right beside a man who started to touch her, and she could not move. She could not do anything about that. And I feel so bad about this. I mean, it happened a long time ago, but still, I feel so bad for her. And I'm sorry, because this should not happen. It should not, but it does.
Of course, females find it very natural to go along with whatever society has taught them generation after generation, and if you stand up for yourself and speak up and say, I will not do this because I will treat them equally, it's so unlikely. It's so unlikely.
I lived with a man when I was interning. I rented a room in a house where he kept on saying that I'm a woman, I can be trained like a dog. And comments like that, when men make comments like that, they're distinctly chauvinistic. You feel, you have a moment of inferiority, and the only way you can sort of get past that is to remind yourself that he's the wrong. You're not inferior, it's the comment that he's making him that displays an inferior attitude.
I try to make all I can to feel proud of myself. That is something that is really important. The way I see myself is not as inferior to any man.
It doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter what your faith is, it doesn't matter where you live. You will always be somewhere discriminated against because of your gender. But that shouldn't put you down, that should make you move forward, that should be your strength. You're a woman, you can do it, you can do anything and everything. You have the ability to empower yourself and move forward with your life, even if there is a culture that is pressuring you into choosing a marriage for a career, choosing to cover yourself or uncover yourself, because not the magazines, it is not the society that defines what your body should be, it is you.
No fool boy. She bad ass. She will cut you into thread.